Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Founders in Flight. I'm so excited for you to meet one of my good friends, Jonathan Penn. He founded Ramble. It's a Airstream repair shop here located in Northlake, Texas. And we actually had the chance to work on their branding before he even started the company. Today, honestly, one of my favorite conversations I've had in a minute. We're just coming off of it, and I'm thinking about all the great things that we had a chance to chat about. We chat about, imposter syndrome. I know it's a cliche, but something that is really actually something that we face. We talk about how to generate early revenue for your company, the transition from corporate life to being a founder. Just overall, a really great conversation with a really great friend. I hope you enjoy. Jonathan, excited to have you in the studio today. It's just fun to have a friend. I'm excited to chat. We were chatting before we even started recording, and I was like, maybe we should just actually start recording. Glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started, just because we have a lot to catch up on, but would love to have you just tell us a little bit about your story, introduce yourself, and kind of set the stage for who is Jonathan Penn at the end of the day.
Yeah. I have pretty eclectic background, I guess. Started, went to school to be in the film industry and worked in LA for a while, and got my dream job out there, or what I thought was my dream job. Kind of had a literal kind of come to Jesus moment, and it's kind of like, what the heck am I doing with my life? I don't want to raise a family here. I'm not married yet, and don't think I'm going to find a wife out here in this industry. So ended up moving back home, really no plan, not sure what I was going to do. Started working for my dad's business, which was at the time, almost a 20-year-old engineering firm, and kind of realized that a lot of what I learned in LA about, producing, putting a team together, aligning around a common goal or vision, really applied to any business. So I was I kind of found a niche or passion, and an opportunity to just help carry on my dad's legacy and build that company. And so 12 years later, it was I turned around and we were looking at looking at selling the company so that he could kind of get out of it and retire and kind of move into his next season of life. And then I started kind of realizing that I, not that I was doing it out of obligation, because I was having fun, but at the same time, there was a little bit of obligation to for me to be there and be, try to carry on his legacy. But then once we sold the company, and that's a whole nother story, but going through all that, and that was such a huge learning process. And I honestly love, talking to other buddies and people that are thinking about selling their business, because I learned just so much through that.
Yeah,
but it was after we sold, I quickly realized the corporate life is not for me.
Don't say.
We went from 40 employees to 740 overnight, and I was one of 4 presidents, and I was the youngest president out of the group, and sitting in board meetings and stuff like that I have to give presentations and basically prove that I'm doing what they're paying me to do. And it just, I'm not a fan of the dog and pony show, but so going through all that, I was okay, now I've got to figure out what's the legacy that I want to leave and that I want to build for myself, and leave, for my boys. So I guess after a couple years, really I think about 2 years of really just kind of taking a moment to breathe and and kind of step out of a somewhat traumatic experience. I never thought I would be getting into the Airstream business, but I feel that's what a lot of founders or business owners say is I don't never thought I was going to do this, but here we are, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, it definitely is, no doubt.
So
That's awesome. Well, so after you kind of exited corporate America, and I know we've talked about this just a lot, just in our similar journeys, but talk to me about I guess, almost like self-discovery process of trying to figure out like what was next and eventually landing on Airstreams. Did you have other things that you considered along the way? And what were all the things that you kind of vetted out? And, how did you eventually land there?
yeah, so I mean, you and I met because I came in thinking I wanted to like start a marketing agency.
What a stupid.
Yeah. So, but I'm like, yeah, you sat there and smiled and nodded the whole conversation, and
I was actually happy, by the way. It was fun.
But yeah, I don't know if I believe you, but yeah, but I mean, well, you probably were like, oh, this isn't going to be, not going to be competition, but
No, that's not how I felt.
but yeah, I mean, I still love being around. I've always that's what drew me to LA. Like, I thought I wanted to be a screenwriter, like went down that path, but I think I barely graduated high school because my grades in English were so bad. So why would I try to be a screenwriter? but anyway, it was kind of like I loved just being around creatives and the idea of working just with creatives and I mean, I still feel like I am a creative at heart, but it's just, I honestly love the operations and building a team and like accomplishing something with a team. I've always really struggled with just imposter syndrome, like a lot of leaders do, and don't mean to sound like a cliche, but I really struggle with it like bad. And so it's like, going from LA to like an engineering firm, which is engineers and creatives are in a lot of they're very different from each other, but also a lot alike. Just more like a lot of them are more introverted and have a lot of like crazy ideas and so but yeah, it's like I always kind of like I guess I feel like I just ended up just wanting to be part of like a solid team of people that just loved and were passionate about what they were doing. But so like kind of, going through I had partnered up with a buddy of mine that, who's still doing great. Josh, who you met, that's, that we started, a marketing agency with. And he's had a successful career as a director in LA doing commercials and documentaries and stuff like that. But I just kind of still felt like I didn't have, it just still wasn't filling that void. And we had purchased an Airstream, back kind of in the COVID era when a lot of people were, trying to figure out, my wife makes fun of me, like I don't sit still. I don't like, I got to be moving, doing something. We love traveling. And I had grown up around like boats and like being out on the lake and just the whole, a lot of like things in the marine world are also like, from a components and design and stuff like that is a lot of it carries over to, RVs and Airstreams. So it wasn't like, I wasn't afraid of towing. I wasn't really afraid to like open up a panel and see what was back there and like kind of get my hands dirty. So we like fell in love with just Airstreams. And ever since I was like a little kid, just seeing an Airstream going on the road, I didn't really know what it was, but I was like, that looks really cool. Totally. And it's like, I joke too. It's like, I don't know how long like Restoration Hardware has like that riveted furniture that I like ever since that came out. I was like, I want to, I want some of that, in my house someday and anyway, I mean, I still don't have any of it because it's really expensive, but I just always thought it was cool. Just the the sleek design, the like shiny, aluminum. And again, I think just because I'm a creative at heart, like it just, Airstreams in general just like stuck out to me just because of the legacy company. It's like, they're one of the only RVs that, has managed to, like, they really haven't changed much about the construction of them and design and everything like that, and they're still just so iconic. It's
timeless.
yeah.
Well, I remember when you brought this idea to me, because I was shocked, because the last time I had talked to you, you told me you were starting a marketing agency, and all of a sudden here comes an Airstream into my parking lot is what it felt like. And when you talked about it, I could tell that you had a deep personal passion for the hobby, and that you were taking that and applying all of your business wisdom against solving a problem for that particular segment of the market that you fall into the customer base.
Right.
And I found that to be really interesting, because I think that can go one of two ways. It can either be a really difficult road because you're just kind of have a pipe dream about, pursuing this like personal passion point as a way to make money.
Yeah.
And then it also can be so incredibly successful because the real problems that people face in that particular segment of the market, the people who are, have an Airstream and really struggle to get it serviced. So what makes how far into it are you? Is it
So, I mean, we've been open since August 1st.
Okay. So 6 months.
Yeah.
You're right this is perfect. You're like literally in the thick of building something.
Yeah.
What makes you feel so confident? What have you seen so far that makes you think that this will be something that really is incredibly successful? I mean, I just see it. I mean, you guys have been super busy ever since you opened, and opening additional locations and stuff like that. But we can get into all that nitty gritty. But before that, talk about pursuing something that's a personal passion point and why you feel like that was such a good idea for you.
I mean, I feel like I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, I don't remember what we were talking about specifically, but it was like, they said the phrase of like, well, it's sometimes good to get somebody with an outside perspective, or like, that's sitting 5 feet away, just, versus being right up close to it. And I'm like, I feel like that's how I was looking at all this in hindsight. It's starting an Airstream business. I was like, from 5 feet away, this looks like a great idea. But then once you're like in it, I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. But yeah. So, I mean, I really feel like a big part of like where the passion came from was like my experience going through the sale of my dad's company. So we went from being a small family-owned business of like 40 people that, we were growing, we were establishing like the next generation. We had brought in leaders. And prior to that, it was just my dad. Like if anything happened to him, the business was going to be dead.
Yeah.
So that's like what I saw as an opportunity was like, okay, I've got to bring in more experts, more leaders, guys that are going to like be able to kind of like walk along beside me to build up the next generation of the company. And then to go through the sale, it was really kind of like, it's like I think you can go through an acquisition process and it can look really attractive to sell a company, but then like you can't be so naive to think that like you're not giving up control. And no matter what they tell you, like you are giving up control, like 100% of it. Like, so, and I don't really know what I thought, but like you can hear them say a lot of really good things that are like, oh yeah, you're going to be part of the, you're going to do, this is going to be your responsibility and all this. But then they don't really know either. Like once they, and I can't like discredit that, or discredit them for that process. So it's like, they don't really know what they're getting into either. And then once they do, and you're in it a little bit, there's going to be overlaps of responsibilities and all that stuff. So I totally get it, but I still have my own, it was like a really emotional process to go through that. And then especially when it's your dad's company that he built and started. So long story to get to the point that with Airstream, I'm like, I look at Airstream today and I wonder, like, Wally Bynum, who founded Airstream, would he be proud of like what Airstream's become? Like, it's, it's been, the company's been sold to, it's part of Thor Industries, and it's part of this, big, huge corporation now. And there's just a lot of things that I'm sure that they're not doing the same way that they used to, from like a construction standpoint of the trailers to, like, and at the end of the day, what I'm kind of getting at is, like, at the end of the day, the customer service side of things. So now, as, like you said, as an Airstream owner, like, which, Chad, my partner in North Carolina, and Brad, who's been really, like, on board, like, as a partner and as a consultant for us. He's like, he's been living in an RV for 15 plus years and has owned an Airstream, well, I mean, longer than I think Chad or myself. But anyway, it's like they know what the dealership experience has been like, and it's just not, in my opinion, doesn't line up with the brand and the quality of trailer that you're buying. So
yeah, you're making such a significant investment in a trailer that is supposed to be timeless, yet the experience after actually purchasing one is less than ideal, and Ramble really steps in to bridge that gap to continue the excellence that you would expect from Airstream. You essentially have adopted that responsibility, and you've taken it on for yourself and said, we're going to actually make the ownership experience just as great as the trailer itself.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing I've always appreciated about you is that I think you have this kind of unique ability to, you're so excellence obsessed. You are, like, obsessed with being, like, the best at something, and you and I share in that a lot. Like, I think that's probably why we get along so well, is because we're, like, borderline obsessive. So,
Yeah.
like, in looking at just the way that you set up your warehouse, I mean, you obviously wanted to invest pretty heavily in your brand, which is all things that I care about too. So when somebody steps into your shop, like, it feels like I'm not in an Airstream repair shop. It feels like I'm in a luxury home builder, but with taste, is kind of the way that it feels,
Nice.
and it's like equipment is new, floors are polished, yet hard work is happening. And so it's like this really awesome dichotomy of polish and real progress.
Yeah.
And anyways,
Awesome.
that takes a lot of hard work, and I saw it. I got to walk alongside you. I got to go up and see the Ramble offices, the Ramble, is it 3 bays that you have? I got to see that before it was even built out at all.
Yeah.
I think you maybe had put up some metal framing for the drywall or something like that, so I could see the outline. And it was hot. It was hot that day. And the cabinet guy shows up, and I'm like, this is awesome. And that's what I love about serving local businesses like yours is, well, one, I get to know people like you. And then two, I get to really see people's personal passions become revenue producing machines that can then generate profits that fuel a lot of purpose. And it's so fun to watch you go through it all. But I know you're right in the midst of it. So let's talk about that. Tell me, like, 6 months in after opening, I mean, you've been working on it for over a year, but I mean, what have been the hard things that you've been navigating recently? And I mean, I'm sure you could name about 400 things.
Yeah.
What are the things that this morning, as we're chatting, that you're really thinking about that you're facing, like, right now?
I mean, for one, like, I literally, like, before I walked in here, I was on a call. We do, like, a morning check-in where I talk to the techs, and I'm like, okay, what's on the docket for today? Like, what are we setting as a goal to get done by the end of the day? And then, what does, next week look like? and or going into kind of next week and everything. But anyway, yeah, I'm like, we're just, I think setting expectations for like quality and the level of attention to detail. I mean, I'm sure it's the same. I mean, I think it's the same in probably every business, but it's like when you're providing a product, a customer has an expectation, and then as like a partner or owner
Mm.
in the company, you have an expectation of how,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just a lot of a lot of expectations that that the customer has, that I have, for the level of service that we're going to
Yeah.
provide, and then that has to be translated to the text. So
Mm-hmm.
when you've got guys, I mean, Greg, he came from a dealer. He had left a dealership, came to work for us, and then so it's like kind of understanding what are the habits that he has,
Mm.
both good and bad.
Yeah.
What do we need to like talk about? And you don't really know any of those until you get into it and just kind of peek over his shoulder without making him feel like you're micromanaging him. But because there's a lot that I don't know, as well, a whole lot. I'm like, I'm just trying to fill a void and a need, and it doesn't mean I'm like the expert by any means. And I'm having to, I've had to, sometimes it takes me a while just to get an estimate out, because I've got to be like, okay, I just agreed to fix this for a customer, but I have no idea. I've got to call up Chad or Brad or talk to Greg and like my other partners and figure that out. And but I know we can fix it. So and we're gonna make it right. And if we can't figure it out, we're just gonna tell them, like, and that's what's like blown me away with like this customer base and the Airstream community. Like, people are willing just to be guinea pigs because they're so desperate for somebody just to fix their trailer, that like they just want someone that cares and is gonna just be honest and transparent with them. So it's like, I had a call with a guy yesterday that, his son's an engineer. They went through, he literally has a CAD drawing of a cabinet that he wants to rebuild in his Airstream. They cut it all out with foam boards. And he was like, I know you don't do cabinetry work, but we would want you to install it. Can you like connect me with a cabinet guy? And I was like, yeah, we can try this. I mean, I don't know if it's going to work, and I can't guarantee it, but like, I'm more than happy to give it a shot. And he was like, yeah, I just, that's how bad I don't want to go through a dealership or go. I want, and he's driving in from out of state, and he's like, I want to go to Ramble. So like, to me, that speaks a lot about just the level of trust that he has in us. So
totally. How has, I mean, with the, I just think about if I was in your shoes and I had the context that you have of being in LA and being at the engineering firm and being the president of an acquired engineering firm, and then going, like, your role is more blue collar than we probably give it credit for. Like, like, did that scare you? Because I feel like if it was me, I'd be like, I'm super comfortable at a standing desk. If you put me in a situation where I have to actually like grab a wrench, like, just everybody watch out, because I'll probably throw it into the wall out of anger. But tell me, like what has that been like for you, and was that a fear of yours?
I mean, that's what Laura, like, I don't think she really knew what she was getting herself into when she married me, but
is that why she seemed so optimistic when I met her?
She has more faith in me than I do in myself. That's for sure. But I don't know. I honestly don't know where it comes from. I come from like a family, like both of my parents were entrepreneurs, and they spent pretty much their entire careers working for themselves. So, I mean, and they got their start. I think my dad, it's kind of crazy. Like, Laura and I got married, like, it's at the same age, same exact age as my parents did. And then I basically started Ramble the same age that my dad was when he started his engineering firm. So it's just kind of funny, like, and we even had kids, like, I guess at the same this, or actually no, it was we had kids at the exact same time that my parents did, and then my dad started the business at the same time. So yeah, we I just I don't know. I had a really good close relationship with my. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So I had a really close relationship with my grandfather, my mom's dad, and he was the type to like. I mean, we were like best buds. Like I would spend weekends over there with just hanging out with him, and he was always the type to like if I wanted to figure something out or how to do it, he would stop whatever he was doing. And it was usually I just loved working with my hands or doing something. So he would, he would just keep piles of wood just for me to build stuff with and like learn how to swing a hammer and so I've just always loved again, it goes back to the creative side of things. I just loved building something. And I feel like my parents are always just shocked at like what I would like take the time to just start building or creating. And so, yeah, I just starting Ramble definitely made me nervous about kind of like, cause it is like, it's totally like more of a blue collar, like, industry, and me coming from like more of, an office or like an office environment with just employees all, with their like standing desks and, and like a, super clean, just work environment to working in a garage basically is quite the jump. And then it's like that also brings like a different type of employee and like different. So I'm still just kind of learning all that, but I feel like at the end of the day, I'm like, I still have that, like I said, like the imposter syndrome and like the fear of like not knowing the answer to things and not being able to solve a customer's problem, and feeling like there's definitely somebody else that knows better than I do, but I've kind of created a problem for myself that I have to like figure it out, I mean,
well, I mean, at the end of the day, like for an Airstream owner, I think due to the limited amount of options they have to get their trailer serviced, fixed, upgraded, etc., really like what you said, they're just really looking for somebody who cares and is going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why I think Ramble is such a different type of a business, is because when you take people who care as much as you and your partners do, because I've met them and they also care deeply. Like if I think of Brad, I just think of an Airstream. It's more what I think about. I'm like, that guy's the poster child for Airstreams,
Yeah.
And so when you assemble a team like that, which you're really good at doing, I don't even know how you assembled that team, which is, I mean, truly amazing.
I think it was the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's, I mean, just like a group of experts truly and then like led by somebody who cares deeply is a really, like, it's a really important thing that you've done. Like, there's no way that you could experience the level of, initial successes that you have and done as good of a job as you have for your first clients. I remember seeing like a social post of your very first client. I think I may even have met them when we were there, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe so, maybe not. I think we did.
Yeah. I don't think they were a customer yet, but yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Well, they I remember seeing that post, and then there's just been so many other stories even since then. And I think that only happens with a great team led by somebody who cares deeply. And, that I think is probably why it's been successful. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
What, I guess you don't have a choice. What's like if I was in your shoes, like being honest, like the one thing I was worried about with Ramble whenever I heard about the business was revenue creation, like business development. Mm-hmm. How has that gone for you over the last 6 months, and like what's it been like?
I mean it honestly feels like too easy, and I don't want to like jinx myself.
Here, you can knock on the wood.
Yeah. But having partners like Brad and Chad, and I think it's true, like all the work that Mallard did for us is truly a testament to the value of good branding and marketing, because I think, talking with, I did another podcast, and like right when we had started Ramble, and it was just me and Brad, and it was at the I was interviewed inside of an Airstream.
I saw that.
And I asked Brad to be on it because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, please be part of this with me. And so we sat down on that. But then Chad heard the podcast, and I think he heard me make the comment that, like, there's guys like Vinny and Ronnie, who are two like really well known. It's Ronnie with Airstream Nuts and Bolts, and Vinny's is just called Vinny's. But so they're like in other parts of the country. But I guess I said in the podcast, like, I would tell people, like, if you're closer to one of them, they might be more qualified than we are to fix the problem. So go to them. But we just are trying to, like, there's enough, it's a big enough sandbox that everyone can play. And so, yeah, it's like, I just felt like there's still just such a need for quality service, and talking with Brad about it. And I just, pitched him a business plan. And, at the time, he was just a guy I followed on YouTube, and asked him what he thought about it. And he said, like, we should absolutely, like, or he said that I should absolutely start this. And then I said, well, will you be part of it? But then, come that, when it got to the international rally and I was on that podcast, Chad heard me make that comment about, going to guys like Ronnie and Vinny. And then he saw the Ramble brand and saw the, saw the website and everything we were building. And he was like, I love what you said on the podcast, and I love the brand, and he was like, and you've already spent a lot of money on this, but I see the value in it, and I want to be part of, like, Ramble. He was like, I could go start my own company, and, and he already has a name and a pretty large YouTube following, and is known in the industry, and, number one Airstream salesman. But he was like, but I'd like to, like, use the Ramble name and be part of it with you. And because he had never started a business either. But yeah, so that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah. And then would you say that so it sounds like having key partners like that and making the investments to do it right up front have almost attracted, like a magnet, great partners, is kind of the way that it seems to me. I know Brad came in before we developed the brand, and he was a part of the discovery meeting that we had with one another. I'll remember that day for as long as I was so tired after that day. Don't tell him. He'll probably see this, but Brad, I was exhausted. Hanging out with you for 4 hours is like hanging out with somebody for 4 days, but in all the right ways. And truly, like, there was so much energy, just like so much clarity, so much energy, like tons of opportunity that we were talking about. And I think materializing that into a brand that looks, feels excellent and different, and really communicates clearly, like, what you're doing, which is what we're even talking about right now, sounds like it attracted additional partners. Which, I mean, like, at the end of the day is, I think, what's been most successful for you from a revenue creation standpoint.
Sure. I couldn't have done it. I mean, Ramble wouldn't be what it is without those two guys. Totally. Like 100%. I mean, Brad's expertise and his following, and just like I would say 95% of our customer base, if not more, is all, I would attribute all to Brad or Chad or people that follow both of them. Yeah. So,
well, that also speaks to this is something I've been talking about with a lot of people like you and Brad and Chad, I guess. I've been talking to them about founder-led content and just like the value of a personal brand being attached to the brand of the business. And I think that, that sounds like a catchphrase, but I think it's without them having an audience, the revenue creation would be pretty difficult because it's really coming from their audience. Let's talk about imposter syndrome for a minute. Yeah. You're the only one of them without an audience.
Right.
I find myself thinking about this often for although I don't have any partners that have an audience, so it's a little bit different. Maybe I do. I'm not sure. We'll see. But the truth of the matter is like, it's hard for people like you and me to, well, two things. One, like actually put the resources into creating content around ourselves. Yeah. And number two, it's like mentally challenging to like actually sustain that effort. Cause you and I are the same. Like if we do something, we're going to go, it's like we go 100. Mm-hmm. It's like,
yeah, I've bought I bought a teleprompter, a camera, a gimbal. I've got like all the stuff sitting in my office now. Cause I'm like, if I buy it, I think it'll just force. I've spent all this money. I have to use it now, but
I don't think that works.
No, but now it's like it's just finding the time to do it is what's just so challenging. But anyway,
what do you think it would be valuable if you did that?
I mean, yes, it's crazy like how Chad did just a quick talking head video a couple days ago, just talking about his journey so far. And he like I think he got like 30 or 40 leads, like customers wanting to schedule appointments, like almost immediately after that posted. And then it's like, I've been watching it and it's kind of like fizzled out. And I'm like, okay, I think I need to like, and it's just him being transparent and open, like kind of to what you're saying, just, this is what starting a business has been like for us. And here's the challenges. And I'm super appreciative for everybody but it's like, it's also, I think there's something really unique and special about, I think, the Airstream community though. And something like, I mean, people have already spent a lot of money on, and not to just go into like, trying to sell Ramble, but people have already spent a lot of money on these trailers to like give them greater peace of mind and confidence is, I mean, and especially for like new Airstream owners, I love talking to them because they're able to like, they don't really have any expectations of, or know what to expect other than like stuff that they read online and all that. But anyway, I kind of got us off topic, but
no, not at all. I mean, I think that the idea, I guess, like if you're, thinking about other founders, because I mean, a lot of them, I think, struggle with this idea of creating content surrounded by themselves because it feels a little bit arrogant and it feels a little bit like self-absorbed. Like it's almost like you have to think you're important enough to create content about, focused on your, and that's really hard for people who are pretty humble, like in real life.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, it's almost like, that it would have business implications, that it would actually, not even that, like probably the way you think about it, the way I think about it is it would actually give a peek into how much we actually care about the delivery of the service.
Yeah.
Which is like great. If it gets us new clients, awesome. But also like, I just want people to know how excellent we are at what we do.
Yeah.
And I think that, but I think what gets in my way, and I'd be curious your thoughts on this, like is this idea of I can't possibly be important enough to create content about myself.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like I've worked for like, especially in LA, there's a lot of narcissistic personalities and it's not fun to work for those people, and get yelled at and shoes thrown at you and like phones slammed. And yeah. So, I mean, I've been in that environment and then, and not to get like into like personal trauma or whatever, but I'm like, I also like that grandfather that I loved and always taught me so much was he was a narcissist. So I'm like, I feel like that's what you, as a leader, you have to be so careful with. Cause I think leadership will breed narcissism. And then if that like, and it's really easy because I feel like you're hearing people tell you like, oh, you're doing such a great job. It's so awesome that you're doing what you're doing. Like they're asking you for your opinion on, they're going to spend $50,000 with you. And and they've got a $50,000 budget, and they're asking you what they should spend money on, and telling you like, well, just keep adding things to it because I'll do whatever you say. I'm like, that's like that can like mess with your ego and get kind of and make you a little inflated. I feel like, and to the point that like you use that. I mean, I feel like every leader has a level of narcissism, and it's part of like you kind of like need it in a way, but then you can't use it as a tool like to get what you want out of your employees and like stuff like that.
You almost have to build guardrails to keep it as like manifest all the things you're saying right now as confidence and conviction for the benefit of others. And then, but then sometimes I think that you run the risk of, even if your heart is aligned properly, you still run the risk of 10% of people thinking you're arrogant. Yeah. And I think that,
and I guess that's what terrifies me about putting myself on camera is like, I'm not like the person watching me on camera hasn't like right now I am so uncomfortable. Like this is like, I mean, you're like, not that you're making me uncomfortable, but like being on camera or being recorded is,
I think it's like one of those things you have to practice. Like it's like a
I just don't know that I'm ever gonna be like 100% comfortable with it.
like you're 5'9", so being like a center in the NBA is probably not yeah. I get that. Maybe you could be a point guard. I think that it is definitely like something that I've been thinking a lot about, because I think that, I mean, I had a conversation with 2 people about it yesterday. Our team's been talking about it, kind of like asking ourselves the question of like, how do we, because almost every president, CEO, founder, EVP that I'm talking to right now is saying similar things. I don't feel like I have the time, but I know that that's probably one of the highest yield marketing activities I could possibly do. And I have this like other little piece of it that's like this imposter syndrome issue. They're like, I think I could get over the imposter syndrome, but the practicality of the time and the lack of expertise, limited resources, like all these things kind of get in the way, but they know it's important. They just have to deal with these other things. I guess let's talk about the time thing. I mean, how much are you working right now on a weekly basis? Do you even want to admit?
No. I mean, it's an unhealthy amount. I will say that. And I'm trying to just, again, I feel like you got to give yourself some grace when you're starting.
Totally.
But then you have to keep it in check. And you have to have, at least for me, I've got an amazing spouse that is like she's showing me grace, but at the same time, she's also holding me accountable and will call me up and say, you're supposed to meet us at the restaurant 15 minutes ago and you said you were leaving. But I'm like, it's been, it's just like you have to still, like, you can't forget just what your priorities are, why you started it in the first place at the end of the day.
I think a lot of people, I mean, this is an interesting topic because people ask me often, do you regret, when I started Mallard, I probably worked, honestly, probably 90 to 100 hours a week. Yeah. I think that that's pretty accurate. And I think that, like, if I think about that, it was at least 2 full-time jobs at the very minimum. And I was, probably, Kim and I were talking about this the other day. I would get up at 5, shower, out of the house by 5:30. I'd be back by 7:30. And then I would work from probably 8 to midnight, sleep from midnight to 4, wake up at 4, get a couple things done, shower, and go. Yeah. And that was like my schedule. And I feel like I did that for at least 18 months. Now, I had a baby in the house, and people ask me all the time, like, do you regret doing that? And it's a really challenging question for me, because I know for a fact that you and I would not be sitting here right now unless I did it. Yeah. But I simultaneously am, so exponentially great. I'm so grateful for the fact that I had people surrounding me who said, this is a season, not the standard. And I had to work myself out of that. Like, in really uncomfortable ways. Because honestly, when I got to that 18-month mark, it actually maybe even felt like I needed to pour in more time than when I originally started it. But what I do know as a fact is that if you want, I think the hard part that no one talks about is the fact that if you want to start a business and you want it to be successful, I mean, truly, like life-changing for you and for others, I think that there's a season of really hard work on the front end of it. And I think that's an honest conversation you have to have with your spouse, significant other, family, friends. And, but also like it has to be a season. Have you experienced this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been working with a coach that Brad introduced me to. And his name's Eric, and he like, I was kind of going through all this stuff with him, and he just said, he was like, I mean, and it's nothing complicated, and it's just like hearing it from somebody on the outside, which is why I just love, firm believer in having, every leader should have a coach, in my opinion. I know you do. Yeah. And so Eric said, like, he said, okay, you like basically make a commitment, sit down with your wife and your boys, even though my boys are 4 and 8, so they don't really understand. Like, my 4-year-old just sits there and smiles, but still, like, so we were at a rally, or Airstream rally, actually just here in Grapevine, and so sitting in the Airstream, the boys got up. I had already kind of talked to Laura about it, but I mean, it was like an emotional conversation, like for me, like, just because I'm like, I don't want them. I think in hindsight, it took me a while, and I had a great childhood. I was, spoiled, middle class white kid, like, and I grew up in, in this like wealthy, affluent area. But I feel like growing up, I always kind of felt like, I never resented my dad at all, but always kind of felt like, man, he worked a lot, and I wish there were times that I had I wish I'd gotten more time with him. Now sitting in this seat, I'm like, I like hope I can do as good a job as he did. Like, so
it really changes your perspective.
Yeah, totally changed my tune. But it's like, it's taken me, I'm now 40 years old, and now you're just now realizing that, like, it's like kind of been, so I guess it's been like a healing process for me, just sitting in the seat that I'm in now. And I mean, my dad is the one, basically, like, when we sold the company, like, he was able to help invest in Ramble to get it up and off the ground. So it's, anyway, I just think it's, to your point, it does take like those, like, just having an open, transparent conversation. So I sat down with Laura and the boys and said, okay, I'm asking you guys to give me until May, like until school's out, for things just to be absolutely nuts for me. Like, my oldest has made comments about, he was like, Daddy's always on his phone at dinner. And so I brought that up when I was talking to him. I was like, I said, anytime you see me on my phone, it is not because, in their minds, a phone means games, or like in an 8-year-old's mind, it doesn't. So it's like, I just want him to understand that that's me. I am working, but it's because I've got to get, I've got to get through this season. So I try to explain it in who knows if it actually got through, or if he'll remember that conversation, but it was ended up being like a really special moment with them, and with Laura, in my mind. I mean, it's a moment I'll never forget, like starting Ramble, just having to have that conversation with them.
Well, I feel like that, I mean, thanks for talking about that, because that really like is something that, I mean, I wish I had that conversation. I mean, my kid wouldn't have, she would have just thrown sweet potatoes in my face. But, but it's really, I think it's okay for it to be a bit messy.
Yeah.
I think it just almost, I think giving yourself grace, but simultaneously having high standards for yourself as the provider for your family, not just financially, but spiritually and relationally, and those things. It's a heavy weight. I mean, it's like, I still to this day struggle. I mean, even this morning, honestly, I mean, I was I'm getting dinner with a friend tonight at 6 p.m. and asking my wife to allow for me to do that was, I feel so guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so guilty doing that.
Yeah.
I told her, but I said to her, I said, Kim, the truth of the matter is, in like an emotionally charged moment, Kim, I am not allowed to be friends with my employees. I spend the majority of my time working and or parenting. And anytime that I want to spend time with one of my few friends, I feel deeply guilty about it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in my moments of biggest weakness, I put that on her.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, the way you reacted when I told you I was going to go to dinner at 6 p.m. makes me feel so guilty. When in reality, it's actually here.
Yeah.
And I think that people like you and I think we have really high standards for ourselves. We want to be good fathers and we want to be good husbands over everything.
Yeah.
And so, but simultaneously, we know that in order to be able to do that, we've been through enough to know that we need to pursue our businesses because that's what we feel called to do,
Mm-hmm.
to both provide and also grow something. And also we need to, this is the hardest part, is to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I heard that for like a long time. People would always say that, and I'd be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I would tell my coach this, and I would be like, honestly, like when people say that, I get mad because I'm like, you weak, person.
Same.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like, I still am figuring out what it truly means to take care of yourself. Like I've said to myself, I'm going to do a biannual retreat where I just go to a cabin for one night and just go. I've never done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I say it to myself as if I've like almost the conceptualization of this idea is the rest. It's just like, I'm not actually going to do it, but I'm going to come up with something.
I had a coach tell me to do that one time. Well, she told me like, just go out. Don't take, like, if you take anything, take like a blank journal and a pen, and like to write stuff down. And I was like, if I go do that, I feel like I'm gonna come.
You're just gonna start scribbling.
Like she was like, just go out in the woods somewhere, and sit somewhere. I was like, if I do that, I'm gonna come out of the woods like naked and screaming. Like I'm gonna go.
At least
nuts.
you'll be in an area.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like I haven't. I don't feel like I've been good at that. And I feel like if, like, for people like us that have that thought of like, oh yeah, self-care, like that's for wimps. I'm like, yeah, then you probably have a problem.
Yeah, seriously though. I mean, it's like, it's this hard realization of like, I really do think I need it. Yet when I just don't know where the time is.
No.
You got to create it for yourself, I guess. I mean, and like the truth of the matter is I'm sitting here looking at 3 cameras and I'm like, I want to say something that sounds really impressive right now that I'm like, here's the fix.
No.
The truth of the matter is that if you're a founder, the truth is that finding rest for yourself may be the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And like growing revenue is hard, and hiring people, firing people, managing complex client relationships, operating the business, being a good dad, being a good mom, being a good spouse, all these things, really hard. Being like sustaining yourself and like actually like keeping your priorities in check. Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I didn't sleep when we had our first kid. Like
then you started a business.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Raising it, like, I feel like I don't want my wife to hear this, but I'm like, I feel like I'd rather have another kid than start another business.
We'll cut that part out.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, totally. 100%. Well, I just loved our convo. And glad that we had the chance to catch up on everything. I feel like we only scratched the surface, but can I ask one last question?
Sure.
It's the question that I try to ask every single guest that comes in, which is that if there was a third member of our conversation here today that was a early stage entrepreneur like yourself, a founder who's trying to build something, what is one piece of encouragement or one piece of advice that you would share with them that's on your heart?
Hmm. I mean, I think it really stems back to what you were just talking about. I'm like, I think you can sit back and keep thinking like, because I'm I'm a big like I do a lot of self-reflection. Just my brain never stops, and I'm always like wondering what I'm doing wrong or if there's something I should be doing differently. But I'm like, if I could stop all that inner dialogue, or if I was, I would tell someone just to stop that inner dialogue and like just keep pushing forward, because I know, you know, well, I guess I don't know because I haven't gotten through it, but I know it will get easier.
Mm.
Like, and it'll get, it'll, at least I sure hope it does. But I'm like, don't spend all the time just critiquing yourself, like, the typical cliched slogan of like, you're your own worst critic. I mean, I am 100% my worst critic. So you know, don't let all the things you think you're doing wrong or that you are doing wrong, like just move past it, keep going. But still, I do think that self-care is important though. So
yeah, totally.
you just got to be disciplined at the end of the day.
Mm.
Like, I feel like I'm trying to get better. Like every week I'm trying to like leave an hour earlier just to go home so I can get home, spend a little bit more time with the boys before they go to bed. I'm still going back to work after they go to bed, or I'm like, I'm having to do something else, one more thing I got to check off the list, or I'm on my phone or whatever. But yeah, I think that's just
Baby steps.
yeah, and really discipline, like you, and yeah, and I feel like it's starting a business. Nobody truly knows everything you have on your plate because you can't even put it all on paper. Like I don't think either one of us could have gotten everything down on paper that needed to get done, or that there's just 1,000 things going through my brain. And again, maybe that's just the perfectionist or excellence focused mindset in us, but
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Well, great advice, great conversation. Enjoyed it so much. My, final thoughts are mostly just encouragement to you that like I really believe in what you're building. Truly, everybody here does. I think I see a Ramble hat at least 3 times a week around this place.
That's
so
awesome.
the truth of the matter is that like I think that you've created something out of nothing that is really really special, and I'm grateful to be your friend and grateful to I'm grateful to have the opportunity to work with you professionally, and also just to sit down and have meaningful conversations both on camera and off, and excited to watch you guys continue to build Ramble into something that is industry transformational and also transformational for your family and for others.
Thanks.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks for you too.